Okay, so you're thinking about buying a house. That's a huge step. I bet you're already picturing yourself, like, hosting these legendary housewarming parties and finally getting to put together that gallery wall you've been dreaming of the whole 9 yards.
It's so
It
exciting.
is exciting. But before you get too lost in those open house daydreams, we need to talk about something called your credit score.
Oh, yeah.
Might not be as fun as picking out throw pillows, but trust me, it is a total game changer in the home buying world, right?
100%.
Think of this deep dive as like your secret weapon to snagging that dream home with a loan that doesn't make your eyes water when you see the monthly payments.
Exactly. And you've been doing your research. You're already checking out podcasts like Real Estate Riches,
They're great.
which is fantastic. Honestly, a lot of
Yeah,
people don't realize how much their credit score is going to impact them on their home buying journey until they're, knee deep in it.
totally. They do a really good job of like breaking things down, and they call your credit score like this financial report card for lenders.
I like
So
that.
back in school, good grades open doors, right?
Yeah.
And here, it's kind of the same thing of good credit score opens doors to the best loan terms. But here's a question I had before diving into this. Why do lenders even care so much about this number? What does it even mean?
So it all boils down to risk. Lenders are using that credit score to try and figure out how likely you are to repay that loan, that big old mortgage loan. So the higher your score, basically you're a safe bet, which means they're more likely to give you a lower interest rate because they're confident you're going to pay them back.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So lower risk, better terms for me. It's all making sense now. It's like back in school, if you aced all your tests, teachers were more likely to cut you some slack if you like missed one homework assignment.
Right, exactly. And in this case, just like those good grades, a good credit score is going to save you potentially thousands of dollars over the life of your loan. That's huge.
Okay, now you're talking my language, thousands of dollars.
Thousands. Think of what you could do with all that extra cash.
Exactly.
Maybe a fancy espresso machine for that new kitchen of yours.
High credit score equals more lattes.
God.
Got it.
Right.
But real estate riches mentioned checking your credit report. And honestly, every time I hear those words, I kind of tune out.
Yeah.
It just seems like one of those boring adulting things I have to do, you know?
I totally get it. But it really doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds. It's really more like a financial checkup. Like, you're not going to run a marathon without seeing a doctor first, right?
Right.
So this is just making sure everything is in tip-top shape before you start your home buying marathon.
Okay.
And the great news is you can get this for free. Once a year, you can get your credit report for free from all 3 credit bureaus.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, all of them.
Free is always good. But say I do that, I finally bite the bullet, and I pull up my credit report. What am I even looking at? It's like a foreign language to me sometimes.
Yeah, it can be. It can be a little overwhelming at first, but once you know what to look for, it's actually pretty straightforward. I think Real Estate Riches had a great analogy for it. They said to think of your credit report like a pie,
Okay.
with each slice representing a different factor that makes up your score.
Okay, yeah. I can get behind the pie analogy, way more appetizing than spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So what kind of slices are we even talking about here?
All right, so the biggest slice of that pie is your payment history.
Okay.
This is where lenders really want to see that you've got this solid track record of paying your bills, like on time, like clockwork.
Yeah.
Any late payments are going to kind of put a little smudge on that slice of the pie. That's why those automatic payments that Real Estate Riches we're talking about can be a lifesaver.
Yeah, they made a really big deal about those.
Yeah.
Set it and forget it. No late fees, no accidental dings on your credit report. It's like having a personal assistant for your bills, but like way cheaper.
Right.
Okay, so besides paying on time, what else are lenders looking for? What makes them happy?
So the next slice you're going to want to look at is your credit utilization.
Okay.
Now, I know that sounds a little jargony,
Yeah, a little bit.
but basically it just means how much of your available credit are you actually using?
Okay.
So think of your credit limit like a gas tank.
Okay.
You don't want to run it totally empty, but you also don't want to be driving around with it completely full all the time.
Okay.
Ideally, you're aiming for that sweet spot of
Yeah.
using like less than 30% of your available credit.
So I probably shouldn't max out my credit cards every month then, huh?
Probably not the best look if you're trying to, show that you are financially responsible and ready to buy a house.
Yeah, that's fair. Makes sense.
Think of it this way. Imagine you're applying for a job, right? And you go to the interview and you've got all your stuff, like just papers everywhere. It might not be a deal breaker, But if someone else shows up with a really nice, organized portfolio,
Yeah,
it just makes a better impression.
that makes sense. Okay, so paying on time, not maxing out my credit cards.
Yeah.
What else are they looking at on this, like, credit report card?
So the next slice on that report is the length of your credit history.
Okay.
And this one's pretty simple, basically. The longer you've been using credit responsibly, the better. It shows you have a long pattern of trustworthiness.
Gotcha. So someone who just got their first credit card is obviously going to have a shorter credit history than someone who's had one for like 10 years.
Oh, right.
Right. Yeah. So it seems like if you're just starting out, building that credit history is key. Real Estate Rich has also mentioned something about credit scoring models. And they said something about how there's like more than one, which I have to admit, that part kind of went over my head a little bit.
Yeah, no, it can be a little confusing. There are a few different credit scoring models out there, but the two big ones you'll hear about most are FICO and Vantage Score,
Okay.
and they use slightly different formulas.
Right.
But the overall idea is still the same, to give lenders a way to quickly get a snapshot of like how creditworthy you are. Think of it like, Coke and Pepsi.
Right.
They're both colas. They've just got slightly different recipes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So it's good to know that they're out there. But for the most part, the same basic principles apply.
Exactly. Now, beyond those main things on your credit report, like those slices of pie we talked about,
Right.
real estate riches, really emphasize double checking for any errors on your report.
Right. They made it sound like finding a $20 bill in your coat pocket.
Yeah.
You never know what inaccuracies might be, like
Yeah.
hiding on there and dragging your score down.
Yeah.
There's some good tips on like improving your score too, right?
Absolutely. And really, it just all comes down to consistently practicing those healthy credit habits we were talking about.
Yeah.
Paying those bills on time, like we talked about,
Yeah.
keeping that credit utilization low, and then being mindful of those hard inquiries. Speaking of, that's another thing to keep in mind. Those hard inquiries on your credit report, those happen when you apply for new credit, like a credit card or a loan.
Oh, right. So that's why they were saying like, don't rock the boat right before the big presentation, right?
Yeah.
Applying for a bunch of new credit right before you apply for a mortgage can make you look, riskier to a lender.
Exactly. Because you're trying to maintain that balance and you suddenly add on a bunch of weight, it just makes things a little wobbly. And speaking of timing, that's another thing that they emphasized.
Okay.
They recommend starting this whole process, shoring up your credit at least 6 to 12 months before you want to buy.
Which is great for our listener because they're just starting to think about this whole process. So
Perfect timing.
perfect timing. But let's be real, this whole credit score thing can be a little overwhelming.
It can be.
It's a lot. It feels like learning a whole new language sometimes.
You're telling me.
Yeah,
But remember, you don't have to go it alone.
that's true.
Just like if you're trying to, crush some fitness goals, having a coach in your corner is really going to help you. The same thing with your finances. A financial advisor or a credit counselor, they can be like your secret weapon.
I like that you're financial cheerleaders.
Yes.
They're there to cheer you on and help you like figure out a game plan and stay on track. So to kind of wrap things up here, it sounds like the big takeaway is that knowledge really is power in this whole process. The more you understand about your credit score, the more you can use it to your advantage as you're, going through this home buying journey.
Absolutely. You're taking control of your finances. You're making those informed decisions, and you are setting yourself up for success, as you said, as you start this really exciting journey.
Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself. So as you continue on your quest for the perfect home, just remember your credit score is your friend. It's your little sidekick. Nurture that relationship, and you will be well on your way to unlocking those dream home doors. Maybe even with a few extra lattes along the way.
Love it.
Happy house hunting.